Hello everybody, Travis here for Tpull's Corner, and we've got a new deck, one that's going to test the new environment since we have a new expansion out. Lost Caverns of Ixalan is already here, and it likes the graveyard. It counts stuff in the... It boosts all your stuff based on what's in the graveyard. So, I want to do some counter programming. So we've got a deck that's based on mostly exiling the graveyard, and we've done this just a time or two in the last couple of years, but it seemed like it's a very opportune time to do it now. Although, that's not the best mix to start with, but we can at least get some information on what's in their hand. Even for a discard type of spell, this does an exile effect. Let's get rid of Jetmir. Jetmir's really dangerous. I'm not sure if we can stop them. They've got 2 rabble rousings already. It's not going to be too hard for them to get to 5 mana. Become prepared with 4 copies of Calamity's Wake, where you exile all graveyards, and players can't cast non-creature spells for the turn. So we know what they want to get out. Let's just stop on their upkeep. We'll pass our turn. There's not much to exile in the graveyards, but they're not going to cast anything that's non-creature this particular turn. They could draw a card. We just need to stall because I want them to go ahead and put down their artifacts and enchantments, and then we'll just exile them all. This will give us a blocker so that we keep them from getting their battle. Need another 4/3. Oh, never mind. That was their other spell. Alright, there's number 6. We're good to go with Farewell whenever I feel like it. We'll let them get the battle out. Let them get everything done and taken care of. Actually, I'm going to destroy everybody for now. There's just a little too much damage on the field. It's going to be at least 12 points of damage. see anything that I expect them to bring stuff out of the graveyard, so we'll keep their graveyard intact. Alright, we'll give them one more chance here. Let's see. Here. Board wipe. There we go. What else you got? A Phoenix chick. Okay. How many people they get every single turn. They've got a nice little setup. Now it's all gone. The only question is, what do I want? I feel like I want a Jetmir. That's enough for now. How many of those are they gonna have? That's a flyer too. Not cool. Okay, so if I attack with Jetmir, I don't want to attack there. I just want to attack them in the face. They take it. They get rid of everybody else. I'm running out of board wipes. But let's bring down the Stonebreak. I feel like we should get rid of any more of these. I don't need any more flyers. Okay, I wonder. Urbrass Forge. I don't want any more Urbrass Forge. They've only got one Basilica Shepherd, so that was a good choice. Looks like they got 3 Mondrax, though. Gross. Okay. Oh, good. We got rid of the other Basilica Shepherd and the Jetmir. Perfect. It gives me a tiny bit of an ability to do a little bit more life. They do still have some weapons, but no. We'll just hold on to that. We'll go take out the thing here, get rid of another creature. Just one. And let's draw a card. Oh, I don't have the right color. Never mind. I'm not going to be able to use that. Unless I get the other Realm Breaker out. Okay, there's Mondrak. And I don't really want to use Phyrexian Arena right now because I'm really low on life. I don't need to remove anybody's counters in this case. And the Glutton can just be a blocker. And I'm still managing to lose life. Now we wait here. In the turn, exile all the graveyards. Now you can draw, but you can't cast any spells unless they're creatures or land. And what is up with all this land I'm drawing? There's something that gives me life. There we go. Okay, we're going to stop on theirs again. No need to remove any permanents. In the turn, exile the graveyards again. If they've got a creature, they can put it down. There's a creature. There goes a creature. We'll keep that stop there. And they don't wait. We had another Calamity's Wake. So if they had another Abrade or some removal spell, we were just going to cast Calamity's Wake and make sure they didn't have a way to interact with us. So we were pretty much set there, no matter what they did. But it does get a little close on the life total. So let's go in and take a look at the full deck. And for anybody that's new, hit the subscribe button. If you're not new, but you still haven't hit the subscribe button, but you keep finding me, I'm okay with that. But YouTube says subscribing is actually better. I don't know if it's just that it's their peace of mind, but allegedly, the more people that subscribe, the better that is for me as well. So, whoever you are, go ahead and subscribe. And of course, we ask for your likes as we show you the counter meta deck. The star of the show, technically, is Calamity's Wake. It's a card that doesn't see much use, but you exile all graveyards. Players can't cast non-creature spells during the turn. I usually want to put a stop on their upkeep before their draw spell, and then I'll go ahead and cast the spell. So you can see once we get to an advantage on the board state, then we can just use these to maintain that advantage, and whatever they have that could have helped them in the graveyard is not going to help them. A couple of discards at the very beginning, mostly to get information on what's in their deck. We've got a Dread Fugue and a Dreams of Steel and Oil, and that'll help us with the Stone Brain perhaps. If we get the Stone Brain down, we can name a card and exile more copies of it, as you saw. Just because that artifact, the red artifact that we got rid of, was really going to be a potential pain for us. If we do manage to get ahead on life, we've got Cut of the Prophets, where you can draw X cards and lose X life depending on how much spare mana you have at your disposal. For other things to get rid of the graveyard besides Calamity's Wake, we have 3 copies of Graveyard Trespasser. This will also be a little source of life gain for us. We've got Lord Skitter, the Sewer King, just 1 copy of this one. It's a legendary rat noble. Whenever a rat comes into the battlefield under your control, you get to exile a card only from an opponent's graveyard. And it's up to, so you can exile 0 if you want. But this is also a way, since I don't have a lot of creatures, this creates a 1/1 black rat creature token every single turn. It's no good for blocking, but if we want to attack, go for it. I've got 1 copy of Render Inert. I have started using Render Inert, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 decks ago, and whenever I choose a black color, I tend to want one of these in my hand, just because they're good at getting rid of the loyalty counters off of Planeswalkers for starters. But also, I usually have at least 1 battle, like here I have Invasion of Fiora, and again, I don't have a lot of creatures. So instead of possibly being blocked from getting the creature out, I can just play the Render Inert, get rid of the counters off of the battle, and then we don't even have to bother attacking. I've got not a lot of removal. I got 1 Hero's Downfall. I've got a Path of Peril to get rid of the small creatures. I've got 1 Phyrexian Arena for card draw, although it does cost me a life each turn. I've got 1 Honored Heirloom. This allows me to exile any 1 target card from a graveyard for just 2 mana each turn, and it fixes my mana, so I can cast white or black. 2 copies of Realmbreaker, the Invasion Tree. This will mill away some of their stuff, and then maybe put resources in the graveyard for me instead of them, because I do get their land right away. And if it puts a creature in there, we've got something we can do later. 1 copy of Cemetery Protector, we can actually flash this one in, and we exile a card from a graveyard. Whenever you cast a spell, if it shares a card type with the exiled card, you actually get to create a 1/1 white human creature token. So again, a nice way, like Lord Skitter, when we don't have a lot of creatures, we do have a way to keep generating them. 1 copy of Sigarda's Splendor. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card if your life total is greater than or equal to the last life. So this gives us a nice little bit of card draw and another source of life gain whenever we cast a white spell. I have 1 board wipe with by invitation only, so they can sacrifice between 0 and 13 people. Expel the Interlopers, 3 copies of that. And that, along with Path of Peril, basically gives me 5 board wipes. And then I technically have 2 more. I have 1 Farewell, and I have 1 Invasion of Fiora. For getting things back in case, like, Realmbreaker puts a creature in their graveyard, I have 4 copies of Vat Emergence. So this is good not just against the Ixalan decks that care about putting creatures in the graveyard, but if you're tired of facing like the throwaway and bring back Atraxas and Itales and stuff like that, if they throw away, say, an Atraxa on turn 3 or 4, maybe you get to it first with your Vat Emergence on turn 5. We've also got 1 Cruelty of Gix, and Chapter 3 for that puts a creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It doesn't have to be your graveyard, you can also raid their graveyard. So we've got 5 chances to raid their graveyard and use some of their resources instead of them being resources for them. And so now all we want to do is we want to go up against somebody who's using Ixalan and see if we can actually put them in their place with this deck. The playtesting, I have not come up against an Ixalan deck yet, which is funny because before I made this deck, I was coming up against a lot of people who were playing Ixalan only cards. And since I made this deck, no Ixalan. So, again, conspiracy-minded. Does Arena understand that my particular type of deck is deadly to Ixalan? We're going to play a couple rounds and see if we can get any Ixalan type of stuff coming up against us. The last deck was more about putting tokens on the field and overwhelming us with sheer numbers. If we didn't have all those board wipes, they could have basically killed us in 2 turns if we weren't able to clear the field each and every time. And this looks to be mono red aggro. Which is not really Ixalan based and not really graveyard carrying. Maybe they have a Phoenix in there somewhere? Usually mono red moves faster than that. It'll take quite so long. But they've got an instant in their hand. Let's see if they have an artifact or creature. Oh, never mind. I have to wait for it. I have to wait 1 more turn. We're fine. We should be able to survive, right? Protection from red and green. Alright. They have nothing but direct damage and arcane bombardment. Okay. So, yeah, Arena already automatically went out and found a deck that's kind of deadly to me. With that kind of flexibility on when to give damage to my face, they can stop a lot of my life gain. They don't bother to put together the sword, probably because they want to throw lightning at my face. Unless they want to be greedy and save it for when they get the bombardment out. In which case, do I bother with Phyrexian Arena because it's kind of pushing my luck? They've got 8 damage just in their hand right now. They're being very slow and deliberative, aren't they? Maybe they don't know exactly how much of an advantage they have. Technically, without any of my life gain and only having something that costs me more life, no way to put much of anything in the graveyard just right this second. That's a lot of time to spend on 1 point of damage for the entire round. They don't know what to think. Let's just put down the Honored Heirloom. And we'll start milling them. And because it's an Arcane Bombardment deck, we're not expecting a lot of creatures, but they've got to have some creatures, right? Because they've got artifacts they expect to equip, so they've got a mix of things. But it's not like I'm pressuring them in any way. And we don't need to worry so much about creatures and planeswalkers. The damage begins. Play the cards this turn, so land in a strangle. Well, get rid of that. We see if they have a replacement creature. They do not. Damage, 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 damage. That's 12 points in their hand. 12 points of sheer damage. Good call not to play the Phyrexian Arena at least. Okay. Exile card from graveyard. Let's get rid of Lightning Strike. Pass the turn. Exile the graveyard. Can't cast non-creature spells this turn. If they want to do the damage spells right this second, they can. They do not. So they can't cast any of those spells. They can play their lane. And we get a duplicate of something we already have. That's great. Alright, what do we got? We got a Spell Spear and a Monstrous Rage. We'll get rid of the Monstrous Rage. But with no life gain, we're kind of stuck here. Don't see how we can get around any of this. give up the ghost. They can do a lightning straight to the face. There's just no help. If it was just mono aggro for creatures, it might be a different story. But we geared up against the graveyard, not against lightning bolts. So, again, depressing as always, facing just a ton of mono red aggro everywhere we go. As if there should be a law, it should just be restricted to ranked battles only. Encountering it this often in standard play, I feel like I'm encountering the same deck in standard more often than I ever have before. Which is just, it only sucks in the terms of decreasing variety in terms of what you're going up against. Just because if all I cared about was getting my 15 wins for the day, I wouldn't be making different decks. I would just build a deck against that and go from there. Because that's the most common thing that we're facing. But it used to be that mono red would stick a little bit more to ranked, and not quite as much always here in standard play. So it's a little distressing to see the red creep, the mono red creep into standard too much. Let's get rid of Voltage Surge, I guess. Stonebrain comes down. I think we'll just go ahead and use that as regular land. Do they bring the Scrap Welder down now? No, Circuit Mender instead. Okay. Let's see. They have big score. I feel like let's just get rid of the Scrap Welder. I get to draw a card from that. But I am curious to see if they have more than one in the deck. A lot of times it's just one. Yep, just one. So this looks like, yeah, it's the only called Anvil deck. Okay, so Stonebrain gets rid of only one creature, and they get to replace it with a draw card. So I should have recognized it was the Anvil and went and looked for that in the first place. It's been a while since I've played the Anvil deck, actually. I don't see it that much anymore. But, you know, we're an anti-graveyard deck, so maybe that's part of why. Yeah, this is actually, we missed a land drop, so this is the only thing we can do right now. Let's go ahead and throw away the Searchlight Companion. Bring down the Dollhouse if they want. The biggest threat for me is just not getting my lands. This is technically the worst card for me to get up front, because this is really something for me to use when I've got time and when I'm ahead on life. Things like that. There's always a card that I put in there just for funds. Yay, we get one land. We can't really do much with it just yet. I guess I could use Cut of the Profits now. Second big score. Are they willing to throw away their card? Or do they like the card they have? They threw away Infernal Grasp because I wasn't putting down any creatures for them to worry about. Okay, so now they're just going to put that on the thing. And I'm nearly dead. The problem is, this is enough of a graveyard deck that... Oh, that's not good. That was really not good. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, no matter what I do, just I can't miss that much land draw. They've got 6 to my 4 already. If I manage to board wipe them, they could still just bring one back with Dollhouse of Horrors. I don't have a way to board wipe and get rid of the graveyard all in one shot. I can at least do a board wipe if I get one more land. But something that happens every day on Arena is that at some point your opponent's going to get more land than you. It happens to me with distressing familiarity. Okay, so land or no? It's tapped. Yeah, we'll let them know we're leaving. Yeah, I can't win with just 4 lands. We've got the 2 Realm Breakers, we've got Mana Dorks, we've got all sorts of different things to actually help us get more land. And yet again, the only card that I don't want to see in the opening hand is there. I think I have to mulligan this, don't I? Okay, we'll keep that. Extra cards there. Very cheap deck here. Galta and Mavrin. And they have their own farewell, as well as a way to protect creatures. That would have been a fun one to bring back. I wonder if I put out the arena now, do they just sacrifice the Haywire Might to stop it? Or do they let me lose life? Let's do it. We're just going to pass the turn. through. We'll pass here. Pass to blockers. Come on. Hello. They can make this one indestructible, right? They can save it, but I'll still have my Lord Skitter. Whereas if I did it here, they would have put it on the Might, and I would have lost it entirely. And this works out perfectly. We do next. We exile that card. We attack with what we've got. Then I keep my 1/1 rats and everything goes. They're gonna hate me. Okay. When an heirloom comes down, you hit him with the rat. That is a sorcery, so we wait till their turn, and then we exile everything in all the graveyards. They can't cast any non-creature spells this turn. Only creatures. And they still gain life. So they can cast their Farewell next turn, but do they want to keep the artifacts? Because my artifact can get something out of their graveyard. So because they have Farewell, we just attack with a 3 dash, pass the turn, and see what they want to do. We did luck into a deck finally that has things that wants to get into the graveyard and use the graveyard as a resource. Oh, they get rid of the heirloom. This way they can keep their artifacts and then cast the Farewell next turn. If they wanted to get rid of enchantments, they could have just cast the Farewell. We don't care about instants and sorceries, right? They're still gaining just as much life as I'm hitting them with. Here, let's do this. Path of Peril. Put in hand. To World Tree setting up. That's an enchantment this time, so they've got artifacts and enchantments they're not going to want to get rid of. 6, 7. They still don't have anything good in the graveyard because we exiled everything in the graveyard already. They kind of have to use Farewell now. I would be surprised if they waited another turn. Just the creatures. So we've got to be careful with Realmbreaker because Conduit Worlds is out. So we get rid of Farewell. And we'll go ahead and bring this down. I'm not going to use it right this second. And unless they have a board wipe, they don't have a way to get rid of the glutton. So lots of setup, but Our trick worked. And anything that they had that they could have used did not work. So if you're afraid of Conduit of Worlds, there's a couple of choices of cards that we have here in this deck that you can use that would be good against it. Still no Ixalan. That's a different expansion. Conduit of Worlds is not Ixalan. But it still feels good. If I was better able to handle mono red aggro, if you think about it, Arcane Bombardment is also kind of a it's a graveyard raiding kind of deck. If I was able to withstand a little bit more damage up front, maybe if I'd gotten my life gain stuff up front, every time they used it I could have exiled it, so they wouldn't have been able to get extra value out of it with the Bombardment enchantment later. But that requires my life gain to come first. And that has not been happening yet. Let's just look for artifacts and creatures for a second. Seriously? Destruction, exile, enchantment, and enchantment. Okay. So if they don't like my Realm Breaker, they actually have two different ways to take care of it now. Let's go with... They have two copies of that, so it doesn't make much sense. I guess let's just go ahead and get rid of Borrowed Time. I think we'll have to use Aganjo as creature removal. Endearing Angel, that we can use creature removal against. Please don't have protection at this stage, because that thing needs to go away. Okay, one down at least. Aha. Okay. Let's put down the Honored Heirloom. Use our second Aganjo to deal some damage against an attacker. I don't think I mind them having the Sigarda summons. That's a fun little card. Okay, before it comes out, we're going to exile that. Because they can transform it if they attack with 3 or more creatures later. So, That one is too dangerous to exist, basically. Another flyer. Gross. It is an angel deck, isn't it? Go after the Honored Heroine. Okay. Mine now. They exiled their own creature. Okay. There's no more creatures in there for us to deal with. We're running out of time. Keep this one. Move you again. There's a Planeswalker in there. Planeswalker doesn't help. What else you got? Another Banishing Slash. Got a lot of removal. There goes Realm Breaker again. And so now I'm left without anything to help me against air, so I need one of my board wipes. Let's see. Search for 3. There's no creatures left, right? Yeah. That was not necessarily the most useful thing for us to get right this second. We can go ahead and get rid of the rest of their graveyard. But we don't have any way to get their creatures into the graveyard now with both of the Realm Breakers gone. They came up against too many Banishing Slashes too quickly. Got rid of Borrowed Time, got rid of Ossification. They still use Planar Disruption and 2 Banishing Slashes. And we're going to use Pooped Up to stop the Graveyard Trespasser. Command is not helpful. All we can do is attack. There goes Lord Skitter. And it doesn't go to our graveyard, it's exiled. Let's go ahead and draw a card and see what we can do. We used both of the Ganjos already. We used our single point removal. Seriously? Okay, here we go. Finally. The one with power 2 or more goes away, and we can attack with our 2 little rats just like last time. Do you want to exile a 1/1 rodent? Why are they looking at Lord Skitter under there? I'm going to take that. Thank you. Perfect. For me. Do they exile the Redeemer? They've been doing it to everything else. They've got not Banishing Slash, they got it. Oh good, I needed that. Okay, so we do by invitation only, we just sacrifice 1 creature. We choose our 1/1. We have to choose Giada. And then we can attack with both of those. And now Giada's in the graveyard in case we want to take Giada. We destroy the Redeemer. Let's take the Redeemer back. technically I should have taken Giada first and then taken the Redeemer. But we finally have a way to get some life. Get in the courtyard. Stop on their turn, on their upkeep. Exile everything from all graveyards. And now if they have a non-creature spell like a board wipe, they can't use it. And that was it. Kind of close matches. And I think an argument could be made that I could find something to switch out. Let's do one final match. Again, nothing from Ixalan. And Ixalan has some impressive synergistic spells. And there's a couple of other cards from earlier expansions that you can combine with it that'll get your creatures up to massive numbers really fast. And notice no Atraxa decks and no Atali decks. What a coincidence. And the meta's been littered with them forever now. But they're not showing up today. What else you got in here? Let's see. Artifact creature. Vehicle. Sunfire Torch. I think we get rid of Hermetic Nautilus, actually. Because they can make that into a 4/1 every single time. And the... it's not even a vehicle. It's not like they have to crew it or anything. They just need 2 open mana. Keep a Ganjo ready. Give that +1, that's fine. And then we still need 5 before they can bring down the Galleon. We have some Ixalan cards though, finally. Kind of expected that. Let them resolve that first. Didn't think you would. Do they have a counterspell? They can't do anything against that anyway, right? Well, if they had the 1 mana that untaps it and gives it hexproof, shore up. What do you got? Ah! They do have a great perception. Big hit and toxic and everything. Gross. Alright, so we need that for the mana, regardless. And we might have to flash this in next in order to sacrifice it, just for a chump block. It's a big artifact deck. They're gonna beat me with only 3 lands. They do the damage. don't think we survive this, so I think the Protector dies. They already got me down to 7 as it is. What other tricks you still have? Crescendo helps it survive yet again. Finally gets them to their 4th land. All of this with the 1/2 creature. And they saved it. Amazing. It comes down with haste. Still dealing with just the 1 creature. I need 1 more land for a board wipe now. They got 2 creatures. Didn't get it. Ugh. Very easily die next turn. Get the land I need. What do we get rid of? Runaway Boulder and Arc Splitter. They get their Galleon. They get to do 4 points of damage to me this turn alone. This doesn't have haste. It does them no good to crew it. Right? Oh, wait. And now if they create a copy, blah, 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 it gains haste. And they looked at it. Didn't work. Alright. Phyrexian Arena comes along at exactly the right time that I cannot use it ever again. You choose both legendary and non-legendary creatures. Everything they have. Because they've emptied their hand. And if they have a single direct damage spell, I'm dead. Or just another Tomb Raider. Just 1 more Tomb Raider is all they need. Alright. I kind of need to do this. Okay, we got rid of 3 spells. They were going to have another vehicle. After that, I have Malefactor and Brazen Blade Master. No attacks. We are purely on the defensive now. And I could use some white spells to get my life gain going finally. And we're drawing about the same amount of land. Another creature. I'd like to go get this, but I can't really afford to. Marchesa costs me a life each turn. There's a 4/4. And when it casts an instant, they get Ragavan, which has haste. Let's see. Can I do anything with her besides let her die? No, not really. I need one of my board wipes. Ah. Let's see. They don't have anything in their hand. I can get that back, which happens to bring. And I can exile something, right? Or we can do this again. Alright, no attacks, and now we can chump block the Galleon. They just go with the legendary right away. Huh. Didn't expect that. Oh, it's got first strike, that's why. So I really should have triple blocked that. I'm so used to looking at the special ability and the menace, I completely overlooked the first strike there. So that alone could cost me the game. Ah, never mind. Hey, we can get a life point back. Let's get rid of the Tomb Raider. Next. Get rid of... Yeah, we might need to get some of these back. I don't think they can get their things back. They'll attack with the rat. Our life is still too low to go get Marchesa because she's going to cost me a life point, and that means likewise Phyrexian Arena is all of a sudden completely useless to me. I just get to hang out here with my one little poison counter that's never going to come off. Okay, they can crew this for 2, which means they can create a 5/5 on defense whenever they feel like. Are they actually going to attack? Kind of surprised at that. Thought they would have used that as a defender. There's no first strike there. No. Arc Splitter. I thought that was a one-time activation only. I messed up again. That's a good trick. I'm drawing a ton of land and it's not helping me a bit. I think we're going to have to do this. Okay, so... hit them for 2. And then we just... No, I didn't want to do that this turn. Well, it gets me a life. That gets rid of everything. They're just flooding out with land. Amazing after all the land I've taken away from them. And now I lose Lord Skitter. And I've got 36 cards left, and I still need another board wipe already. They actually don't need to bother doing that. They're blocked anyway, so they can't deal the damage to me. So that was kind of a waste of time. Okay, we draw 2 cards. Completely useless. A tapped land. And something that can only make me get rid of something that's already there. Nothing that... There's a life point. I'm done. I have nothing that can block. that was still kind of a fun match. My problem really is maybe this just means that I give up the Phyrexian Arena completely. Don't mind Stonebrain. That's just bad draw. I got a lot of extra card draw out of that. I kept a lot of stuff out of their hands with Realmbreaker. Cigar Splendor came in really choice, but I did end up kind of flooding out there with just getting lands. I was getting a land every turn. Yeah, let's go ahead and look at the deck. And so there wasn't really much in the way of cards that they could get back from the graveyard, but we went up against Ixalan cards, and Ixalan cards still beat us, just not the ones that we were aiming for. There was such an emphasis on graveyard cards. I designed a deck against the Ixalan graveyard cards, and they beat me with a vehicle from Ixalan instead. Ironic. I'm convinced there's a team of wizards that spies on me, and so they put me in my place every time I try and get a smart idea in my head. So, I don't mind having the 4 Calamities Wake in there, although obviously if they're just doing something like mono red aggro, you're dead, but that can be almost any deck that can be dead. Cut of Prophets could probably come out. That was just a fun card, and I'm maintaining at 60, so we could do something. We could just put more removal or something, or we could get a 4th Graveyard Trespasser in there. And if I wanted to be serious, probably Phyrexian Arena should come out now. So if I wanted to be a little bit more serious about having a good deck, I would probably choose... Wait for it. March of Wretched Sorrows. This way I'd have one more case of removal that would be instant. I could use it during my opponent's turn. If I had enough mana, since it's an X spell, I could take out something like the 5/5 Artifact Vehicle, and then I could actually gain life as a result, and instead not have to worry about card draw, not have to worry about the loss of life. You notice the other way I had to gain life also cost me life, so I ended up being low on life enough that the 2 cards that I had that were supposed to help me with card draw, I couldn't actually use for a lot of time, so that's a conflict. So we'll get rid of one of them. We'll add another one that has life gain, and I'll go ahead and put 2 of those now, and we'll find another deck for Cut of the Prophets. I've used that in other cards, other decks. That's been kind of fun. But that's the choice that I'm making, and I think we'll leave it there. So remember to like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. What do you think of the edits that I just made on the deck? I'm probably going to keep it and run out with it for a few more rounds and see how it handles from here on out. Like I said, even though we didn't come across Ixalan, hey, maybe that's part of the meta, right? If you're coming up against a lot of Ixalan cards that are eating your cake, and they're just putting out all these creatures that are getting up to like 15, 15, 20, 20 strength and power and toughness, maybe you just want to put a few more of these maybe you just want 1 or 2, or maybe you want a deck that's more like this because that's all you're facing. And if you put together a deck like this, maybe you stop coming up against that stuff, because I'm not coming up against it anymore. It would seem weird if it was another game, but this is online arena for Magic the Gathering, so it's kind of what we expect. But again, leave me your comments, let me know what you think, and we'll do something different next time. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a good one.